Welcome to Whatsoever More or Less, a channel where citizens diligently study the U.S. Constitution for ourselves, seeking to understand it in the tradition of the founders. Occasionally, references will come from the leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as our doctrine contains a strong tradition of defending the Constitution. Okay, so I got to tell a little story here. Today we're going to be analyzing the preamble, and let me go ahead and kind of set the stage with this little story. When I was a kid, I think I was about 3 or 4, my dad sent me to clean my room. I was watching TV. I was liking watching TV with him. He sent me to clean my room because it was messy. And I went to my room and I played with my toys for a while. Came back out, sat down, watched some TV. My dad says, "Jason, did you clean your room?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Do I need to check it?" I said, "No." He says, "Oh, that's okay. I'll check it anyhow." And sure enough, I'm like, all right, I got to clean my room. So I went back to my room again. He sent me back to my room to clean it again. This time I went back and played with my toys some more. Then came back out and sat down and watched TV again. He says, "Jason, have you cleaned your room?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Do I need to double check it?" I said, "Sure, go ahead and double check it." And he says, "Okay, I will." It's like, dang it, that didn't work either. So finally, I go back there this time. I'm tired of it. I really want to watch TV now. So I just take all my toys and throw them all away as fast as I can into this basket, into this closet, underneath my bed, wherever it is, get it all cleaned up. Then go watch TV with my dad. "Jason, did you clean your room?" "Yes." "Do I need to double check it?" "Do whatever you want." He checked it and he's like, "There you go. Come on out and watch TV." So, you guys, this is like the Constitution. Okay. Somebody says to you, "We're following the Constitution." And I say, "Are you sure you're following the Constitution?" And they say, "Well, double check what Hamilton said." Well, look, Hamilton didn't get ratified at the ratifying conventions. The Constitution got ratified at the ratifying conventions. They say, double check what Madison said. No, Madison didn't get ratified either. They say, double check such and such federals. No, that's not what got ratified. The Constitution is what got ratified. Double check the Constitution, period, every time. If they say, double check what the Supreme Court said. No, the Supreme Court didn't get ratified at the Constitution either. It's the Constitution that got ratified. That's the Constitution. The Constitution is the Constitution. The amendments are the Constitution. Article 5 and Article 7, as you study the Constitution with me, you'll find they have very strict processes. Writing the Federalist Papers did not have a very strict process. Writing Judicial Review probably has a slightly more strict process, but once again, no, not even close to Article 5 or Article 7. The Constitution is the Constitution. Do you need to double check it? Every time. Double check it. Okay, let's get into how to double check it. Okay, so I used to teach wilderness survival for a living, and so they give you a map, they give you a compass in the old days. You had a walkie-talkie. We didn't have all this cool technology and stuff like that, you know. We had to climb to the top of a mountain to get reception and have repeaters that we would be hitting just right. So what you do, you look at this topographical map, and it gives you an idea of, oh, there should be a peak over here. Wherever you're trying to get to, there should be a creek over here. There should be this. And you've got the compass, and you look at it, and you get the idea of what you're headed towards. We need position markers when we're trying to get to where we're going, so we can make sure we're actually headed in the right direction. If you have those position markers, you can have a good idea. Now, I've found in reading the Constitution every day that there are 7 solid position markers that you can look for in every last part of the Constitution. So let's look at those 7 position markers. The 7 P's is what I call them. That was kind of a lucky little discovery. I kept saying, okay, I wonder if I can come up with some kind of rhyming something. I came up with 7 P's. It was like, oh man, this just fell into place. I am very happy with it. People's consent is number 1. We consent to a compound Republican form of government with complexity and ratios often required far beyond a simple majority rule. All legitimate power begins with elections. Taking power without consent, stealing elections, and assassinating those who are elected are all acts of injury or war. Okay, so people's consent is one. Number two, proper purposes. The Constitution lists appropriate purposes. These aren't powers granted, but restrictions on which purposes are acceptable to pursue with government force in the first place. To exercise government powers for improper purposes would be abuse or abuse of power or misuse of power, whatever we want to call it. Now, you'll notice these several terms in this slideshow, if you're following me, are underlined, such as abuse or acts of injury in war. These underlined items come from the Declaration of Independence. So basically, I am saying these are things our founding fathers would not have put up with. They would not have put up with abusive powers or acts of injury and war. They tried to avoid them. So all these P's, when properly followed, should prevent the very kind of complaints that led us to leave the British Empire and say, no, we're going to do our own thing, dudes. So here we go. Number three, powers enumerated. The powers granted to the federal government are few and enumerated. Necessary means necessary to the foregoing powers. Proper means consistent with the proper role of government. See the talk by Ezra Taft Benson. To exercise more powers than the enumerated is called usurpation, not elastic. Number four, positions of power. The powers enumerated are limited to specific office holders. They cannot delegate that which we the people have delegated to them. It's ours to delegate, not theirs. If those who aren't constitutionally elected begin to see themselves as more important than those who are elected and begin to bypass legitimate constitutional versions of legislative, executive, and judicial processes, imposing their rules on the people, that is tyranny. Number five, procedures to validate. Bills, amendments, and treaties all have a required procedure. These are the only supreme law of the land, not agency rules nor Supreme Court rulings. The legitimate source of the law of the land has a procedure written into the Constitution every time. To claim anything else is the supreme law of the land would be despotism. For elected officials to allow this precedent to continue to develop is neglect. Number six, promises guaranteed. There are certain things the federal government guarantees to us in the Constitution. These aren't optional. These are things that are literally the absolute most proper, valid role of government, such as protecting from invasion at our borders. Again, see the proper role of government by Ezra Taft Benson. To avoid performing these most valid roles of government would be abdication. Okay, now number seven, powers prohibited. There are certain things the Constitution absolutely prohibits. It's not a suggestion for the federal government to stay out of it. The Constitution would not have been ratified in the first place had there not been a commitment to add certain amendments, in particular creating restrictions on the government. To interpret those prohibitions any other way is what we would call a bait and switch. To enforce such usurpations of authority is despotism. And again, all these underlined terms come from the grievances. Not that the Declaration of Independence uses that term grievances, but we call them the lists of grievances in the Declaration of Independence. Okay, so let's read the preamble here. Let me review those P's real quick. These are easy to remember. It'll help you analyze the Constitution so much more quickly. It's what I found anyhow. People's consent, proper purposes, powers enumerated, positions of power, procedures to validate, promises guaranteed, powers prohibited. Okay, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. All right, we're going to analyze these phrases within this. There's a lot to get out of it, if you ask me, using the 7 P's. We the people of the United States. Okay, so this statement is a statement of people's consent. The manner in which the consent to the Constitution was given is found in Article 7 of the U.S. Constitution itself. Different election procedures are prescribed for each position. That's where the people's consent comes from. And we will see that as we read through the Constitution. All right, that was we the people of the United States. Now, in order to form a more perfect union, okay, the verb used here is form. Now, form implies structure. Prior to the Constitution, we had the Articles of Confederation. There wasn't a bicameral Congress, a chief executive, or a judicial branch. The new Constitution established several new positions of power. It established what Madison called a compound republic, with different state officials having certain powers enumerated. to them relative to the operations of the Union. The positions of power that seems to most obviously contribute to a more perfect union is the single unitary chief executive or president. A single president can give advice to Congress from time to time and propose treaties. He can respond more quickly to the immediate needs based on the Constitution, the laws, and the treaties. He can be held accountable if he fails to be a unifier. Established justice. Under the Articles of Confederation, there was no judicial system. Basic guidelines and enumerated jurisdictions are given to a federal judiciary in the Constitution. These are positions of power. The verb used is establish. Prior to the Revolutionary War, founders referred to the unwritten British Constitution, which was a system of precedent. It was unstable. It wasn't established. After having been subjected to such instability, they would have been very happy to have come to a well-written and thought-out constitution that they hoped would be more stable or established. So we established justice. Ensure domestic tranquility. The verb ensure implies promises guaranteed. Any clause in the Constitution dealing with domestic tranquility are not optional. And that is exactly what we will see as we read through the Constitution more. Shall protect from invasion. Shall do domestic tranquility, right? Not optional. Okay, continuing the 7 P's analysis of the preamble. Provide for the common defense. The Congress has powers enumerated to make preparations for whatever threat may confront the United States. See Article 1, Section 8, Clauses 10 through 17. The verb is provide. This is a serious power enumerated, but not as strong as a promise. The founders had been subject to a standing army and were very wary of that ever happening again. Still, they acknowledged the need for common defense. Common implies the people of the Union itself. No part of the Constitution allows for the use of the military to defend other nations. As a matter of fact, Washington through Monroe clearly warned against such entangling alliances. J. Reuben Clark and Ezra Taft Benson and others have all declared that we have apostatized from this at this point for over 100 years, that we have been doing wars the wrong way in ways that the Constitution doesn't allow. Okay, promote the general welfare is the next part of the Constitution, or the preamble. There are powers enumerated, okay, that promote general welfare. General implies that there is no favoritism or redistribution. The powers granted facilitate rather than guarantee welfare for everyone. The verb promote is consistent with what the Constitution does regarding general welfare. As we start reading ahead, you'll find in Article 1, Section 8, Clauses 2 through 9 in particular, because I look at Clauses 1 and 18 of that section as kind of the bookends that set the stage for the rest of it. So Clauses 2 through 9 are what I would call the general welfare clauses. And Madison, this is confirmation bias for me, but he pretty much agrees with me. So, again, double check the Constitution. I don't care what Madison says or anybody like that. If it contradicts what's written in the Constitution, they're wrong, period. Moving on here. So, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Power is prohibited, secures liberty. However, it says blessings of liberty. Okay. Our founders, who were heavily involved in self-sufficient subsistence farming, were very aware of the laws of nature and of nature's God. They knew that government does not grant rights. God does, and government protects them. The blessings of being able to work and defend our own land and freedom, trade, or use the fruits of our labor and exercise freedom of conscience was very important to them. See and appeal to heaven secures a very strong verb, like a promise guaranteed. The U.S. federal government is only instituted for the citizens of the United States of America and our posterity. Constitutional principles are for all mankind, but the U.S. Constitution creates a government that strictly serves the U.S. citizens. Okay, so this is powers prohibited, and it's a promise guaranteed that they will protect us from anybody who tries to violate those prohibitions, right? Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Again, we see this verb establish. This written Constitution was meant to be stable. When things are ordained, they are set in order, okay? And so procedures to validate are going to become indispensable in a well-ordered system, and so we will see those at several points. Everything authoritative has some kind of procedures surrounding it. Okay, that was my quick analysis of the preamble of the Constitution. Thank you for listening to it. Please read the Constitution again. Please like and subscribe. I'm committed to continue to be very diligent in trying to share the best content on the topic of the Constitution and the proper role of government. You could even say the laws of nature and nature's God. Anyhow, thanks again for listening.